Hello everyone, my name is Roberto Guerrero and welcome to our podcast. We are happy to see you are listening to us today. In this episode we are going to talk about a subject that creates many different opinions among students, theory of knowledge, also known as talk.
Thought is one of the core subjects in the International Baccalaureate program. Some students think it is one of the most interesting class because it teaches you to think critically and ask important questions. Others believe it is confusing to abstract and sometimes difficult to understand.
In today's episode, we're going to explain what talk is, what we learn in class, and discuss both its advantage and disadvantage. We will also have a debate and share our personal opinions.
Our goal is not to decide who is right or wrong. Instead, we want to explore different perspectives and understand why people think differently. That is exactly what talk encourages us to do.
We hope that by the end of this podcast, you will have a better understanding of the subject and maybe even develop your own opinion about it.
So, without further ado, let's get it started.
Many people hear the name theory of knowledge for the first time and immediately wonder what it actually means. It is philosophy or it is science? It is history? The answer is that it includes a little of all these subjects.
Talk is not about memorizing facts or learning formulas.
Dale, dale.
Instead, it asks us questions such as who do we know sometimes? How do, how do How do we know sometimes is true? Can we always trust what we see? We do different
Dale.
diferencia. No, no se puede, eres un payaso, loco.
In other words, talk is about understanding knowledge itself. Instead of only learning information, we learn how knowledge is created, shared, questioned, and sometimes changed.
For example, imagine two people watch the same football match. One supports Team A and the other supports Team B. Even though they watch exactly the same game, they might describe it differently.
One person might think the referee made excellent decision while the other believe the referee was unfair. Their previous belief influence how they interpret what happened.
This shows what knowledge is not always completely objective. Our experience, emotions, culture, and belief can influence how we understand the reality.
Another interesting question in talk is whether we can completely trust our senses.
For example, have you ever seen an optical illusion? At first, your eyes tell you one thing, but after looking more carefully, you realize something different.
This teaches us that our senses are useful, but they are not always perfect.
Scientists also experience something similar. New discoveries sometimes prove that all ideas were incorrect.
Hundreds of years ago, many people believed the Earth was the center of the universe. At that time, they thought they had enough evidence.
Later, thanks to new observations and scientific research, people understood that the Earth actually moves around the Sun. This shows that knowledge can change over time.
Another important idea in talk is that asking good questions is often more valuable than finding quick answers.
In many school subjects, teachers ask questions that usually have one correct answer.
But in talk, there are often many possible answers as long as you can explain your reasoning with evidence and logical arguments.
That can feel strange at first because most students are used to looking for the correct answer.
Instead, talk encourage you to think deeply, listen carefully, and respect different opinions.
One important part of talk is studying different areas of knowledge.
The first one is natural science.
In science, knowledge is based on experiments, observation, and evidence. Scientists test their ideas many times before accepting them.
However, even scientific knowledge changes when new evidence appears. That is why science is always developed.
Another area of knowledge is history.
History is based on evidence from the past, but historians sometimes interpret events differently.
For example, two countries might describe the same historical event in different ways because of their own perspectives.
Mathematics is another area.
Many people believe mathematics is completely certain because mathematical proof follow logical rules.
Even so, mathematicians continue discovering new ideas and solving problems that were once impossible.
Turk also studies the arts.
Art is different. Art is different because people can interpret the same painting, song, or movie in many ways.
One person may find a painting beautiful while another person may not like it at all. Neither opinion is necessarily wrong.
Finally, Turk also explores ethics.
Ethics asks questions about right and wrong.
Sometimes ethical decisions are easy, but many situations are complicated because different cultures and people have different values.
Some students think Turk only exists inside the classroom, but actually, we use these ideas every day.
For example, imagine you see an surprising story on social media.
Before believing it, you should ask yourself who published this. Is the information reliable or is there evidence?
These are exactly the kinds of questions we practice in Talk.
Another example is artificial intelligence.
Today, many people use AI tools to answer questions or create content.
But should we always trust the answers generated by AI?
Probably not. We should compare different sources and think critically before accepting any information.
Talk teaches us that being curious is important, but being skeptical in a respectful way is also important.
It is not about doubting everything.
Instead, it is about asking reasonable questions and looking for good evidence.
These skills are useful not only in school but also in university, at work, and in everyday life.
So, after understanding what Talk is, the next question becomes obvious.
Why do you many students believe this subject is valuable?
In the next part of our podcast, we will explore the biggest advantage of theory of knowledge and explain why many people consider it one of the most useful subjects in the IB program.
Now that we know what talk is, let's talk about its advantage. One of the biggest benefits is that it develops our critical thinking skills.
Critical thinking means that we don't immediately accept information as true. Instead, we ask questions, look for evidence, and think carefully before making a conclusion.
This is especially important today because we receive information every minute through social media, television, websites, and even artificial intelligence.
Sometimes people share fake news without checking it if it's true.
A good example is when a story becomes popular online, thousands of people may share it before anyone verifies, verifies the facts.
Talk teaches us not to believe something just because many people say it is true.
Instead, we should ask questions like who created this information? Can I trust this source? Is there evidence to support it?
This simple question can help us avoid believing false information.
Another important advantage is learning how to build strong arguments.
In many discussions, people simply say, I think I'm right.
But in talk, that is not enough. We have to explain we were we will believe sometime.
We need to use evidence, examples, and logical reasoning.
This skill is useful in almost every school subject.
For example, in history, we explain we an event happened.
In literature, we analyze characters and support our ideas with quotations.
Even in science, students must explain why an experiment supports a hypothesis.
Because of this, many students improve their speaking and writing after taking talk.
One thing many students enjoy about talk is that everyone can share different opinions.
Imagine discussing whether technology make our lives better.
Some people will say yes because technology helps you communicate, study, and work.
Others may say technology creates distractions and increases stress.
Both opinions can be reasonable if they are supported with good arguments.
Talk teach us to listen before disagreeing.
It also reminds us that people from different countries or cultures may see the same issue differently.
Learning to respect this difference helps us become better communicators.
Another benefit is decision making.
Every day we make decisions, both big and small.
Sometimes we decide what subjects to study, which university to choose, or even what information to believe.
Talk encourage us to think carefully before making those decisions.
Instead of acting quickly, we consider different possibilities and possible consequences.
This habit can help us avoid mistakes.
Another interesting advantage is that talk connects many school subjects.
Normally, mathematics, biology, history, and art seem completely different.
But talk asks how knowledge is created in each one.
For example, how is scientific knowledge different from historical knowledge?
Can a mathematical proof be compared to historical evidence?
These comparisons help us understand each sub more deeply.
Some students believe talk only exists in school.
Actually, we use talk ideas almost every day.
Imagine you want to buy a new phone.
Before spending money, most people compare price, read reviews, and watch videos.
They don't trust only one opinion.
That is exactly what Talk encourages us to do. Collect information before making decisions.
Another example is choosing a university.
Instead of following a friend's advice immediately, we should research different options.
Again, Talk helps us evaluate information carefully.
Artificial intelligence has become a very popular topic.
AI can answer questions, write text, create image, and help students study.
However, AI sometimes makes mistakes.
It can also provide incomplete or incorrect information.
Talk remind us that technology is useful, but we should always verify important information.
Instead of depending completely on AI, we should combine it with critical thinking.
Another important benefit is communication.
During talk classes, students often participate in discussions.
At first, speaking in front of others can feel uncomfortable.
But with practice, students become more confident.
They learn how to express ideas clearly and respectfully.
These communication skills are valuable in interviews, presentations, and future careers.
Many universities expect students to analyze information instead of memorizing facts.
Employers also value people who can solve problems and think independently.
Talk helps develop exactly these skills.
Whether someone studies medicine, engineering, business, law, or education, critical thinking is always important.
Even jobs that don't seem related to philosophy require good decision making and communication.
Finally, perhaps the greatest advantage of talk that is that it changes how we think.
Instead of accepting simple answers, we become more curious.
We learn that asking good questions is often the beginning of learning something new.
We also understand that changing our opinion after seeing new evidence is not a weakness.
In fact, it shows intellectual honesty and a willingness to learn.
Of course, talk is not perfect, and many students also have criticism of the subject.
In the next part of our podcast, we will discuss the disadvantage of talk, explain why some students find it difficult, and finish with a debate where we'll share us our opinion. So far, we have talked about many disadvantages of talk. However, not every student enjoys the subject. Let's discuss some of its disadvantages.
One of the biggest criticisms is that talk can be very abstract.
Instead of learning clear facts, students often discuss ideas that don't have a correct answer.
For example, that is interesting. For others, it can be confusing.
Sometimes students leave class with even more questions than answers.
That can be frustrating, especially for students who prefer subjects with clear solutions like mathematics or physics.
Another challenge is the vocabulary.
Talk introduces concepts such as bias, justification, evidence, certainty, perspective, and interpretation.
At first, these words may seem difficult to understand.
Some students need time before they become comfortable using them.
If the teacher explains them with practical examples, learning becomes much easier.
Another common complaint is that there is rarely one correct answer.
In many school subjects, students know exactly what the teacher expects.
In talk, several answers may be acceptable if they are supported with logical arguments.
While this encourages creativity, it can also make students feel uncertain.
The assessments can also be challenging.
Students must complete the talk exhibition and the talk essay.
These facts require planning, organization, and careful analysis.
A good idea alone is not enough.
We have reached the end of our discussion.
Today we explored what theory of knowledge is and why it is such a unique subject in the international baccalaureate.
We discussed its advantage, including critical thinking, better communication, stronger arguments, respect for different perspectives, and better decision making.
We also talk about disadvantages such as abstract nature, difficult assessments, subjective grading, and the fact that not every student enjoy this type of learning.
After considering both sides, we believe talk is not a perfect subject.
However, it gives students valuable skills that go beyond the classroom.
It teaches us to question information, evaluate evidence, respect different opinions, and continue learning throughout our lives.
Whether you love talk or find it difficult, it certainly makes you think differently.
And maybe that is exactly what education should do.
Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. We hope this discussion helped you understand theory of knowledge a little better and encourage you to think how about how we know that we know. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.
Yes.